Somebody get me some markers! Some construction paper! And some glitter glue!
Hey everyone, Big Anklevich here. I'm a podcaster and an author, and I'm also a toy enthusiast. It's another Pinterest extravaganza today. I'm talking my first ever action figure repaint here at Big Anklevich on Toys.
Oh, these are your toys!
How many times have you gotten excited about an announced figure only to see the finished product and have that excitement melt away, turn to disgust, and flow down the drain and out to the ocean to poison the marine life, destroy the food supply, and hasten the demise of us all? A lot of times, I bet. Especially if you collect the cheaper domestic lines of Marvel Legends, Mattel DC figures, or Star Wars Black Series. Or what about this? You get a figure that has so much potential for greatness. The sculpt is really impressively detailed and intricate. If only the manufacturer had bothered to put some paint on those details so that you could see them. If you're one of those people who collects hot toys or imports like Mafex or Revoltech, you probably experience that feeling a lot less often than I do. But if your budget is like mine, very limited, then you're probably totally used to it. I do almost all of my toy collecting by waiting for months after something that I want gets released, and hoping that it winds up in the clearance aisle or in the cut rate sellers like Ross or Five Below. Or buying stuff that is pretty cheap to begin with, like Titan Heroes or other figures that are similarly sparse on points of articulation. In 2015, Hasbro released the Age of Ultron Titan Heroes Hulkbuster armor. It was really big, but when I saw it in the store, I noticed that it looked like crap. They wanted almost $50 for that hunk of junk, even though my then 3-year-old son had a Titan Heroes Iron Man that the Hulkbuster armor was designed to house. It was an easy pass for me, as it was for most people. It just really sucked. Eventually, however, it went to 50% off, then 75% off. I finally bought one for my kid when it had been marked down to about $10. I thought a little kid with no discerning taste whatsoever might get some fun out of it. Just no self-respecting adult could manage that. Then, after all of those cheap-as-dirt Hulkbuster armors had finally cleared off the shelves, I encountered a video from a YouTuber named Cosplay Chris.
What's happening, geeks, and welcome to a brand new segment in my channel which I'd like to call Chris's Custom Collectibles.
In that video, he demonstrated how you could take that awful, ugly piece of trash and with some love and effort, transform it into something astoundingly impressive. Turns out the sculpt was there all along. It was just the terrible paint job, or utter lack thereof, that caused the problem. Put some paint on it and it looks amazing.
And there you have it, guys. With a few easy steps and some minor fiddling, you can make a $70 figure look like a several $100 figure.
If you've ever considered attempting to repaint a figure, I definitely recommend you check out that video, link in the description, as well as his entire playlist of similar videos, link also in the description. He refurbishes all sorts of toys to make them look as beautiful as they deserve, and shows you step by step how it is done. Because we owned that same Hulkbuster, I thought long and hard about doing the same thing that Cosplay Chris had, and repainting the figure to look more impressive. However, my little son was pretty possessive with that toy, and there was no way I was going to put all that work into fixing it up.
Okay, so after a grueling 10 hours of hand painting,
only to have him beat it to hell as he played with it, the idea went to the back burner. Instead, I saw they had a more reasonable 12-inch version of the Hulkbuster armor released in the Titan Heroes line. It went on sale too, and I bought myself one. I probably should have gotten two though, because I was pretty afraid to go in with the spray paint can in case it turned out to be a disaster, because there was no more to be had in stores anymore, so I couldn't replace it. I came up with a different idea. My son had his old Titan Heroes Iron Man. He'd had it 4 years. It was beat to hell by now, and most of the paint had worn off the face. I decided that I would buy him a new Iron Man, because there's always an Iron Man for sale, and use his old Iron Man as my test subject, my experience builder. I was finally ready to get going on my first ever action figure repaint. Probably could have documented it a little better. The dumbest thing I did was forget to take a before picture. There's product shots out there that I can use, but it would have been better if you could see the actual toy that I repainted. My first oops, but certainly not my last. Step 1 was to acquire some supplies. I went to Hobby Lobby, bought a bottle of gold and silver enamel from their model car aisle, and got a set of paintbrushes to go with them. I didn't like the price tag on their spray paint, however, or the nuisance of the fact that they were in a locked glass case. I didn't feel like chasing down an employee to get me a half-sized can of spray paint that cost more than what a full-sized can would at Walmart down the road. So I went down the road where I could be trusted to get my own spray paint, though I couldn't actually buy it until I passed the age test. If you're a younger viewer, be sure to have your parents help you buy your supplies. And use them, I suppose. I made sure to get a primer that claimed to be good for plastic. And I compared a bunch of different red colors, trying to find the right dark red for Iron Man. Toy companies keep putting out toys in a very bland, light red, and changing that color out seems to be job one in customizing. Cherry red looked to be my best option. I was hoping I might find a metallic red, but no dice on that. I went home and primed that guy up. Should have done video, but photos is the best I've got, sorry. Am I the only one that finds a blank gray figure to be really neat looking? I don't know why, but I think it looks really cool like that. Of course, I'd just gotten started. Next, it was time for the base red coat. The all-over red coat doesn't look quite as cool as the gray did, but it's progress. Be careful to hold the spray can far enough away to avoid getting too much paint on the figure at once. If your coat is too thick, it could cause some gross-looking stuff like this crackly area on his thigh. I had to take a bit of sandpaper to that to get it shaved off, and even with a lot of work, it never quite looked as good as the rest of the paint. I just couldn't smooth it out perfectly. Several thin coats are better than one thick coat. You need patience for this stuff. Next, it was time to test my hand painting skills. I took the brushes I'd gotten from Hobby Lobby and the gold enamel as well, and painted in all the spots that should be gold. I mostly didn't screw it up. Not completely, though. I was going to need to retouch some spots with red once the gold dried. I did some white in the eyes and on the arc reactor, and then it was time for some weathering. I tried my hand at what seemed to be Cosplay Chris's best bit of advice. To add shading and detail to your figure, it needs a wash. He suggests using shoe polish. A certain kind of shoe polish, though. Not this kind that comes in the can. Don't waste your money on that like I did. Instead, you gotta get this liquid kind. Let me demonstrate on Captain America here. You squeeze out the polish and brush it on, then, using a paper towel, lightly dab off the excess. It leaves black in all the cracks and crevices, highlighting the details, but wipes off in the higher spots of the sculpt. This leaves your previously plain-looking figure detailed and interesting. So, my Iron Man figure looked substantially better already. All those grooves and plates were highlighted, shaded, and weathered. But there was one last thing I needed to do to finish him off. Shoe polish had gotten the weathering process started, but I wanted to do some dry brushing with some silver paint to make it look like the Iron Man suit had seen some action. The way you do that is get some paint on your paintbrush, then brush most of it off on some newspaper or other scrap paper until your brush is almost dry. Then you brush it onto the edges of the armor pieces or other spots that you want to look worn. It makes it look like the paint was ground off in battle or that the metal is aged. Works great on making action figure guns look more realistic too, instead of a solid featureless black color. I touched up some of the spots where I'd messed up, fixing sloppage from my gold paint application, and removing some of the spots where I'd overdone it with the dry brushing. Then, last of all, a coat of clear lacquer to seal it all in. And here's the final product on my first ever action figure repaint. I definitely think it turned out nice. Not perfect, mind you. The one thing that I wish was better was the white for the eyes and the arc reactor. I need a better way to do that so it looks more realistic instead of plain old flat white. But overall, it is a lot better than it used to look, for sure. I'm pretty happy with it. Not only that, but I really enjoyed the process of it as well. It was fun. I've always had a bit of an artistic bent, so this is right up my alley. And after this process, I feel a lot more confident about moving forward with that small Hulkbuster armor that I was worried about ruining. I'm going to do that one next. And who knows, maybe I can convince my son to let me do his giant-sized Hulkbuster armor too. In fact, it was fun enough that maybe I'll just do it for him and let him keep it and play with it, instead of insisting he keep it on my shelves. So my final answer, if you've got even the slightest artistic bone in your body, even if it's just a distal flange, or wait, is this the distal? Give repainting a shot. Try it out on something that you don't care about. Go to Ross or the dollar store and buy yourself something nice and cheap, but that has a bit of texture to it, and see what you can do with it. At least, I found it to be worthwhile. Have fun! Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. Also, feel free to comment down below. Have you ever repainted a figure? If so, how did it go? If this video convinced you to give it a try, please come back and let me know how it went. Let's talk some toys. Also, if you're a fan of science fiction, fantasy, and horror, and if you're a toy collector, it's almost certain you are, because 99% of toys are based on a property that fits into one of those categories, please come and check out my podcast. It's called the Dunesteef Audio Fiction Magazine. For the last 10 years, my co-host Rish Outfield and I have created audio versions of short stories that you can listen to for free while you're driving to work or to Hobby Lobby to pick up those paints that you need to refurbish your Titan Heroes Iron Man. Check the link down below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.